Good morning. All right. Obviously, every coach in NFL hates an early bye week, but we had it. And being able to do self-scout is always tough, all right, after 4 games. But there are some things that you can pick up on. And as a staff, we do everything we can to try to see what are the positives, what are the negatives, what are things that I can do better to help put our players in position to be successful. What are new calls we want to bring into our system and things like that. And I think one of the things that was that really showed up, obviously, are the penalties that we have. But, man, that is a double-edged sword also because along with that, I think we're like second or third in the league as far as pass breakups. And that's something that we've emphasized and I've wanted here for a long time. And I know a lot of times that can be back and forth because now when you're not challenging, then you're playing too soft. When you are challenging, you're getting those. So, but the thing is, I'm going to ride with the fact that our guys are out there challenging. And we're going to continue to do what we do. Now, we're going to get better at these penalties also, and our guys know that. And we continue to emphasize that. Another thing that stands out is, man, I think our two safeties are doing a really good job. I think our coaches are doing a really good job of understanding exactly how we want to operate with those guys. Man, the different positions that BB's playing, the way Kirby has improved, and Deshae and Jim O'Neil have done a good job of understanding exactly how I want those guys to play and making sure they coach those guys up that way. Also, our pressures are up there as far as the league is concerned, and a lot of that has to do with Aiden. And listen, we don't have to talk about that. You guys know how I feel about Aiden. He knows exactly what we expect of him, and we'll move forward with that. But other than that, man, I think statistically, there's a lot of things that we're doing a really good job of, but there's some things that we want to improve on also. So any questions?
Just one thing on the penalties. Is that something you can practice, like avoid or just like technique stuff?
Absolutely. And I think we're one of the, and I don't know how other teams practice, but we still do one-on-ones in practice, receivers and DBs, D-line and O-line, linebackers, tight ends, and running backs. And when you're in those situations, man, and you're in a tussle match, man, where are your hands at? There's a lot of things that we have to, and a lot of that comes from guys in college because you're able to do that when you're in college. So that's one of the things that TA is doing a really good job of. I mean, I was trying to work on those things, and we worked on it our first day in practice when we came back, and we're going to continue to work on those things.
You ever gone as far as to make the guys wear oven mitts or anything like that?
Listen, I was a part of that. Golly, when was it? I forgot when it was, but you don't play with oven mitts on, so I don't want to put oven mitts on guys. It probably was. Zim's my guy, so he probably made me do that. Listen, he is I love the man as a coach, and one of the reasons why I love him because he's demanding, he's upfront, man, but he cares, and it's somewhat similar to Belichick. I mean, even though he's demanding and upfront, man, he has a side to him that's pretty funny. And sometimes guys don't understand that. But I've had both of those guys, and I love both of those guys.
What have you thought of the play of the guys filling in for Derek at that Sam spot?
Say it again.
Just what have you thought of the play of the guys filling in for Derek in that Sam spot? That was obviously a big loss.
Absolutely. Listen, we've had 2 huge losses on our defense, and that's with Davenport and with Barnes. But listen, we make no excuses about that. We continue to play because no one cares. All right, no one cares. And for us, other guys have to step up. And last week, against Seattle, Alex had to do that job for the most part. He did a good job with that. And then we have Nowalski that's coming in that's playing the slam. I'm glad we got him back because he's a good body type and he can run. And we're going to continue to put people in those positions, see the best matchup for us. But, yeah, it's true. I mean, losing Barnes was huge. But, again, we have guys going to continue to work at that, and I think they'll do a good job for us.
Sorry about that. What does it say about Alex that he can step over and do that
Yeah.
after playing the will? Obviously a spot that's great for him, success, back-to-back 100-yard tackle seasons, but to fill in and do that well, what does it say about Alex?
Well, listen, I've said this about that room several times, the versatility that room has. And listen, I have no issue with bringing Malcolm in and him being a starter for us, and that's what actually happened in that situation. So Alex being to move out and play that job, I mean, that's who Alex is. He's always been that. I mean, even in New Orleans, he did that. He played a number of different positions. He's going to continue to do that for us, So anytime there's any issues that go on with our linebacker room, listen, when we have 5 guys that can go out there and play at the drop of a hat, and we're going to continue to look at it that way.
Pretty disruptive. I guess, is there anything to be said for a guy who's able to kind of get in the flow of a game when he gets a little bit more snaps than he used to?
Well, that's something that I talked about when Davenport went down, that he's going to have to step up. And I expect more from that player also, and he's expecting more from himself. Yes, he did a really good job against Seattle, but the thing is, man, we have to consistently be able to do that week in and week out. So I'm looking forward to see how he's going to come out this week, and I know he's going to do a good job. So he's practicing his butt off. He's learning a lot from Hutch, and those guys spend a lot of time together on how they want to operate and how they want to rush the passer.
Answer about Barnes, but Nowowski came in kind of late in that game,
Yeah.
snaps, had a really good coverage play, didn't get the ball, but made a play on it.
Yeah.
A few pressures. When a guy has that kind of impact, it's really first sample size he's had defensively. Does that open your eyes to trying to find a little bit more for that guy package or something like that?
Well, we don't want to put him in the Lawrence Taylor road just yet. That was just one game. So the thing is, yes, he does open our eyes on some things that he can do. But we've been knowing Nowowski since he's been here. You know what he brings to the table. We hate to lose him the first time, but we're glad we got him back. So we're going to continue to try to up his role and try to help him be the player that we know that he can be. But again, we want to make sure we take that slowly and not try to just put him in that role I was just talking about as far as Lawrence Taylor is concerned.
Is that jump? I mean, going from Saginaw Valley State to UDFA to here. I mean, we talk about football finds talent, right?
Yeah.
But the schematic asks that you have for a guy like that versus what he was playing in college. How long does it really take for a guy to get acclimated to what his job is at this level?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously it's a transition. I mean, you see the same thing with TA, but man, football is football. Those guys know football. The thing is, what are we asking them to do and how they're doing it? I mean, that's the transition for the most part, and then understanding exactly how the league officiates when it comes to a ref perspective. So, but to me, at the end of the day, man, it is football. We try to get our guys to understand that. Man, don't take this more than what it is. Man, play football like you've always done since you were maybe 6 or 7 years old. Go out there, enjoy what you're doing, and play fast and play physical.
What jumps out about Dallas when you throw in that film and look to prepare for them?
Listen, this quarterback is pretty good now. He's pretty good. This receiver's pretty good. Listen, I think they've done a good job with the person that they have. They lost some guys too, So again, and I'm sure they feel the same way that I do. No excuses, just go out there and execute. But we know that we have to pay close attention to the tight end, also Ferguson. I think he's doing a really good job, and people don't really talk about that player. I think he's physical. I think he's tough. Man, you watch him on these seam balls. He does a good job of contorting his body and going up and catching the ball. So this is not going to be an easy out. We know that. Every time we play Dallas, it's going to be a dogfight, and we're ready for it.
What is it about CD that makes him particularly tough to?
Body control, patience. Man, when some people feel like that you have to be in a rush to do things, man, he seems like he's very patient as far as trying to get open. You can tell him and Dak has this rapport with each other, that they understand each other, and Dak understands how he's going to release off the ball and things like that. So it's going to be a challenge for us. But again, man, our corners, they're ready for it.
You have a receiver like that plays pretty much half of his snaps in the slot.
Yep.
I mean, is it really an all hands on deck situation for you?
It's all hands on deck no matter what. We got to understand where that player is at all times. And all the cover guys have to understand that. Sometimes you double them, sometimes you're going to be by yourself. But to me, it's more of the challenge aspect. I mean, we want to look at these guys like they're nameless face and let's go play. And our guys will do a good job of that.
Morning. How we doing? You guys ready or what? It's cool. You guys still lagging a bye week. You're slow to get in. Come on. You're supposed to be recharged, ready. We are.
I think right around 67%. Is that a number that you thought was right about where kickoffs would be? Is it high? Is it low? What was your thought going in?
Touchbacks, yeah, I don't know. I think everyone kind of has a different opinion. Everyone's feeling it out. I think the touchback rate's probably gone up each week. So as, teams figure out more and more, maybe there's less returns. I still think it's a viable play. There's teams that are covering kicks, some more than others. Again, the whole thing really comes back to the risk and the reward, and the play is a volatile play, and we've seen that. And teams that have gotten hit on the play obviously get nervous about it. In our last game out, we had that post-safety situation where we were kicking off at the 20, and they returned the ball, and they got out around our left side, and there was a holding call out there. But it still shows some of the volatility of the play. What's that?
What about Dallas? They allow returns.
Oh, yeah, they kick a bunch of balls. Their kicker does a good job, and I think that factors into the decision, too, is like, your kicker and the balls he can hit. He kicks a low-trajectory ball. He can spray it around both left and right, so that challenges the return group a little bit more. They kind of invite you into that right at the goal line. Are you backing up, catching it? You hitting it downhill? If you're backing up, the coverage group's getting a little bit of a head start, and so now instead of the 29.4-yard line on average, now maybe that gives them 4 more yards. Now they're looking at closer to 25-yard line to start it out. So maybe they think that's an advantage for them. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different theories still floating around. I think by the end of the year, everyone will kind of narrow it down and get more on the same page. But we're excited to play these guys for sure. I've gone against Dallas for a long time, and it's always fun playing there in their place against a good team. We respect them quite a bit. They play special teams the right way, and our group's ready to go too, so it should be a great matchup.
When it comes to a kicker like Brandon Aubrey, like what goes into slowing him down? Is there anything that you do when it comes to the actual field goal kicking itself that you can actually try and focus on beating him in any sort of way?
No, you just try to apply pressure to him, force him to execute efficiently and protect it the right way and make the guy kick on time and make him kick a certain trajectory ball. And you put as much pressure on him as you can for him to execute. And then ultimately, if they go out there and execute like they've done a good job of, he's done a good job of, he ends up making a lot of kicks. But
Plenty. You guys had the one that Monday night game, the long one that you returned. I just got asked this a couple times, so I figured I'd ask you, why not have Jameson back there?
yeah, that's a good question. Really what happened to us on the play, there wasn't a timeout, so it was a running clock. And so we sent out the field goal group. We knew we were going to have the returner back there. And so part of that plan is the guy who's our call side corner, which is Dorsey, who also is a returner, put him back there deep. But then I was looking around to actually try to get Leaf, and I didn't see him right next to me. Then at that point, it's like, okay, well, we're not going to push him up 5 yards with the penalty or something like that. So let's just go out there with that group. The truth is, yeah, we should have had somebody better back there. I could have done better with that for sure. It could be Leaf, it could be J-Mo, it could be Gibbs. Any one of those guys would be a good option. But, yeah, and I think highly of Dorsey and think he could do a good job too. So it's not like I felt like we had somebody back there I didn't believe in. But there was probably other options too. Had we had more time to get the right guy, but like the offense all the way down on the far side of the bench, to me the last thing is give them 5 yards and a better shot at making the kick.
Set out well, despite that,
Yeah, it was pretty good. We just didn't get back to that left side. We had a big wall and a bunch of people over there, and then we kind of got cut off and didn't quite get out there to that left-hand side. But
Play for you, like when they're trying to field goal where you might have a chance to return it.
yeah, and you don't really know. If the guy hits a good ball, he probably has enough distance on it and gets it out of there. We had pretty good pressure, actually, on the inside of it, which if he hit a low ball, it might have gotten blocked. So that forced him to hit a little bit higher ball, or he hit a little bit higher ball and it didn't quite get there. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's fun when you get a chance to make a play like that. I wish we would have done better at it. I wish I would have coached it better.
How much do you guys talk about the sun glare and the effect, especially at the time of the game for Sunday?
Yeah, you obviously look into all that. I mean, for me, I was in Philly for 8 years, so we went there 8 times during that time, and then I've been there a couple times here. So I've been in there a lot and seen the sun and the effects of all that. Obviously it comes down there low. At the end of the day, both teams got to play with it. If it happens in between quarters, you got it one way and you got it the other way in the other next quarter. So you got a little bit of both too. But bottom line is concentrate on the football and do your job. Like an old coach told me, Homer Smith, incredible coach. Been around college football for a long time. Obviously, he's passed away, but he used to say, the sun's been there for a million years. It's not going anywhere, so you better just learn how to deal with it. I think there's some of that. If you
Second quarter, I mean, depending on where you guys are.
Yeah, I think the punt is different than the kickoff. The punt's a little bit higher, so it gets up above that sunlight a little bit. That sun's coming in at a low angle. But the kickoff, when they hit the low trajectory ball like they do, that has a chance to be a little bit more of a factor. Like I said, you could time it up, but if it happens right in between quarters, then half the quarter you're going to get it one way, half the other. You know what I mean? Or the next quarter you're going to get it. One quarter you get it one way, the next quarter you get the opposite. So if it is in that range there, then.
Is Turpin as dangerous as he gets? One of those guys that keeps you up a little bit?
Yeah, he's a great player. He's competitive. He's obviously quick, elusive. He's got a great feel for setting coverage, pushing guys, moving blockers, and moving coverage guys also, helping set up his blockers. He's a great player. We got a lot of respect for him. We're looking forward to going against him. It'll be a good opportunity for us.
He came in here with, this reputation for being maybe the best player in the draft on special teams. I'm just curious, the quarter point of his rookie season, how is he delivering on expectations as a special teams player?
Yeah, I think Boxy's done a great job for us. He's got a good skill set. Obviously his college experience probably helps. He was a defensive player and an offensive player in college, so he can play coverage aspects on special teams and return. He obviously has the catch for us on the fake. It's a big play there. He's done a good job in protection on punt. And really in all four phases, I feel like he's done a good job. I think, whatever, he's got to continue to improve. All of us do, myself included. But I think he'll continue to get better and better and better.
The one necessarily in charge of personnel moves, but no more kicker on the practice squad. So with no more kicker on the practice squad, could that be interpreted as a level of confidence in Jake Bates?
I don't see it that way, but I had confidence in him the whole time, and I think it was just more of a matter of we need some other guys. We brought in some outside linebacker, defensive ends, and it was more a matter of that than it is, the kicker situation. So I don't see it any differently, but I've felt the same way all year.
Every little thing that he does, they're tests for him in this league. When you see him get backed up and nail the 48-yard extra point, does that say something to you?
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for him, but I think for me, the biggest thing is, I'll say the same thing I said kind of at the beginning of the year, is I have a large volume of data on him from his kicks in practice, and that really tells me more than any one kick in any one game. And that's the problem. There's so much focus put on just one kick in one game, but it's like if the whole body of work is trending one way, he's probably going to trend that way in games also. I said that last year when we were talking about Badgley and Riley and all that. So, it's definitely good and it's encouraging. Obviously, there's nothing like being out there in the moment in a big game. The Kansas City game in the preseason, he hits a kick at the end of that. Those all count for something. But I feel like, man, the way you practice is the way you're going to trend in the games. And the larger the sample size you have, the more information you really have.
In him from the start of training camp or even before that until now? Yeah,
for Bates, I think honestly the biggest thing for him is he really had, is well documented. He wasn't the kicker in college and all that. He kicked, but he wasn't the guy all the time. He just doesn't have a lot of reps. So you got a young player who doesn't have a ton of reps, has a tremendous skill set and talent and upside. And so really is building just a volume of repetition, and it certainly helps when he's got some really good players around him. Hogan's doing a great job snapping those snaps. That really helps him out. Fox is doing a great job getting the ball down. But for the three of those guys, the more reps they can get, the better he's going to be. He's just going to keep on getting better and better throughout the course of the year. And that's not to say, he's going to have a miss here or there. That's coming for sure. But ultimately, I've seen improvement already from his charting preseason stuff, and then since the season began and the direction that charting's going, it's been steady improvement. The biggest challenge with that is you just can't kick a guy a million reps because you're going to wear his leg out or injure him. So you have to kind of balance right now a lot of volume and getting a lot of reps and experience, but also not wearing the guy out and making sure he's fresh and ready to go.
Don't have a lot of history before they've found success in this league kind of open your eyes or mind to what might be possible for other guys out there?
I think definitely, I mean, even watching Aubrey helps me have confidence with Bates, a guy who hasn't had as many kicks as somebody else for sure. The bottom line is these guys are talented guys. They're definitely ball strikers before. They're playing soccer. They're, doing a lot of other sports. They're not just whatever, a high school kicker, has done it his whole life. I mean, these guys are good athletes, they're good players, they're super talented, and I think those guys they can get better, and they can improve, And it doesn't hurt. When you come into this league, the quality of players around you really helps out. And then I think I said to you guys maybe a couple of years ago now, but I talked about the hash from college to the NFL. The hash is narrower in the NFL, which makes every kick a straighter kick. In college, when you're kicking with the ball on the 5-yard line, it's a hard angle to get that thing in there. So for me, when you're kicking in the National Football League, it's really the same kick darn near every single time. It doesn't matter if it's on the left hash, the right hash, if the ball's on the 30-yard line or the ball's on the 5-yard line, you're darn near hitting a straight ball every single time. Where college, I think you are having to hit a hard angle kick from the left hash, hard angle kick from the right hash, and now you're adding a bunch of different kicks. And so I think in college that helps those guys who can move the ball around a little bit more. In the NFL, it really helps those guys with that big leg who can hit a straighter ball, be better.
Hashes in college? Because I know they changed the goalpost at one point, right? Weren't they a little bit wider at one point in college? Maybe I'm wrong with that. But has there ever been talk with changing the hashes in college?
I have no idea. Yeah. I coached college for 10 years. I loved it, man, more than anything in the world. I never thought I would coach in the NFL and really never had any interest in it, to be honest with you. And then I got an opportunity to work in this league. Now I think it's the best thing ever. But, yeah, I don't know. All right. Appreciate it, guys.
Heck of a job there by the Tigers. It's fun to watch. Here's what I'd say. Bye week, early in the season, normally we like to do a big dive into who we are, and I think we have a great idea of what our identity is and where we want to go from here. Unfortunately, the sample size is still small after 4 weeks to truly get some good tendencies on ourselves and what we might want to go a different direction for. But it came at a good time just in terms of the health of our team. And I think a number of guys have said so far since the Seattle game, it really felt like we're starting to get more of a rhythm as an offense, which was encouraging to see in that game. So looking to continue on that momentum.
Just logistically, since you can't do that big self-scout or didn't during this bye week, right? How do you fit that into later in the season without one, or do you just not, or you're not able to do that?
Yeah, so every 4 weeks or so, we try to get other parties involved, analytics, our advanced scouts do a number of things just in terms of the other team, but also they can give us the same data on ourselves. And so we've got a lot of people in the building that are working continuously to give us that type of information. And then we try to do our own on a weekly basis, just the last 4 games or so, just where we stand, run, pass, and general tendencies.
Normally get during the bye week, just at some point later.
Yeah. I mean, we try to do that every week. It's just up to date on where we might be attacked.
How you best put into words, what is your offensive identity?
We believe that we are a extremely physical, detailed, and explosive unit, all right, in general sense. But that's what we want to bring to the table each and every week. We want our physicality to show up. Obviously, the easiest way to do that is in the run game, but we have perimeter players that are going to block down the field. We have players that don't have the ball in their hands, but they're finding a way to finish around the football. And so that's our definition of finishing and being a physical team. I think when you watch us on tape, you see a deliberateness in our guys and where they get lined up, the depths of their routes, the execution, the fundamentals. That's the detailed part of it. And then so far this year, we've been fairly explosive in both the run game and the passing game. I know our numbers dipped because we had the bye week just relative to the league, but prior to the bye week, we were top 10 in regards to explosive. So hopefully when teams turn on the tape, that's what they're seeing: physical, detailed, and explosive.
Been around Jared for a number of years now, and obviously he's had some really good stretches of football, but between the 12 for 12, the first half against Arizona, and obviously the 18 for 18, I mean, is he just in a really nice rhythm right now? What do you attribute kind of him just seeing it and feeling it right now?
Yeah, I mean, he downloads the game plan and looks to go out there and execute it. I mean, you can look at that Seattle game and there's some not so great play calls, and we got some guys making things right. That was my big point to the unit last week before we went on break was we had a couple explosive plays where I wish I had have sent the protection a different direction and cleaned the picture up for him, but he was able to buy some time. I think it was the first catch there to Tim Patrick was not ideal, but they both made it work, and it ended up being a 20-something yard gain. So when he knows exactly what we're looking for. He knows what the bad looks are too. He knows why each play is being called and the premier look for that play, but he also knows what could give us some issues. And so just his general awareness of how to make things right now when I'm not timing things up quite right, it's been really impressive. And so we're getting into our own rhythm, just our week to week. What does a Tuesday look like as we're starting into the week, a Wednesday, Thursday, and he and I like to close the door in the early evenings and just make sure we're squared away. And so I think we're getting into a nice groove between the two of us as well.
A couple completions away from an NFL record, like straight consecutive. Do you try to build some early ones into this game?
Not even on my thought process. No, we're playing ball. Yep.
Mike Zimmer's defense is doing what Mike Zimmer's defense often does, and being very successful on third down. And I know you weren't officially the coordinator in 2021. In that game, you beat them. That was still, 2 for 11, I think, on third down in that game. What is it about his defenses that makes them so consistently successful on that down?
Yeah, I mean, he finds exactly what you're trying to do in protection and knows how to attack it. He's been doing it for so long now, and he's really the godfather here. This double A gap, and he's evolved it over the years as well. And he seems to always find a way each week to find to get an unblocked guy on the quarterback, and that's really what he fancies himself doing, and I think he does a great job of it. And so those guys, I think what you've seen with this Dallas defense is growth through 5 weeks. Whatever the numbers say, throw them out the window. The last 2 weeks, they've been playing great football. If you just look at those last 2 weeks, both in a yardage perspective, shutting down the run game, third downs, red zone, they're playing really good defense. It doesn't matter who's out there for them. Parsons, 90, it doesn't matter who's out there. They're out there. They're playing hard. They're playing for each other. They got some tone setters over there. I got a lot of respect for their safeties. I got a lot of respect for this young linebacker, 13. He'll go running around and hit you in the mouth. And so we got to rise up to the enthusiasm with which they play ball, and we got to match that here this week.
Just kind of going off that, how much more important then does it make Frank's return to the lineup against a team that can rush as well as they do?
Yeah, he's certainly he's got a lot of experience against this type of scheme. Over before I even was here, he was going against Zimmer's defense, so he knows what issues that particular scheme can bring up. It's interesting. Year one for them in this scheme. How much is he going to dive back into his Minnesota years? But that's where we have a little bit of familiarity with him, particularly with Frank, because he's been able to see all this, and so he knows exactly what we want to do.
How much do you consider the butterfly effect of your decision to stay here on the Cowboys organization, considering Quinn left to go to Washington, and then obviously Zimmer was elevated in his place?
How does that have to do with me, though?
Oh, you were leading candidate for that Washington job.
No, I mean, it's just everything kind of cycles through here in the NFL. Every year there's job openings, and guys take them, guys get fired. I mean, that's the name of the game. I know the name on my coordinator office right now, that's not permanent. That's going to come down at some point, and we know that. We'll get into it, and it's musical chairs to a degree, but like I said, I think they're doing a great job out there with a different scheme. He's getting those guys to play hard. Al Harris, their DB's coach, he's been there for a long time. And I believe he's got that secondary. In the last 3 years, they have the most interceptions in the league. And so there is some continuity there on the back end, at least with that defense. And you can see it with their players and their style of play.
See Tim Patrick kind of settling in now into his role. He's been making some plays. Now you mentioned the one early. Just you see a comfort level with him growing a little bit?
Yeah, no question. Something I mentioned to Coach Campbell, at the end of training camp there is we were looking to add to that room is it's not easy to digest what we do in a short period of time. And it's his experience and his professionalism has allowed him to go out there and play at a high level despite he probably doesn't feel comfortable yet. I really don't think he does, but it's coming, and it's like I said, I would have thought we would have seen more mental errors up to this point, but that's a credit to him with what he's been able to accomplish in a short period of time.
Dan mentioned last week that he feels Jameer is this close to breaking off a long run. Do you see the same thing when you watch the film back, and I guess how close is he? Because it feels like
I think we've got him up on a safety a couple of times, and I know he always is, right when if he can't break that tackle, but. Our guys are doing a great job up front, O-line, tight ends of covering guys up, and I think what you see with our skill group, I'm talking about our receivers. I don't know if there's another group in the NFL that blocks like they do down the field, and so it's probably coach's confidence not only in Gibbs and what he can do, but it's also what our unit's been putting on tape so far. That it's just a matter of time before he breaks some big ones out.
that blocking from the receivers, is that a coaching point from you guys, or is it just like how some of these guys are wired to go down the field?
I think it's a combination of both. I think Coach Randall does a phenomenal job instilling that in those guys. And when your lead dog, St. Brown, does what he does, it's everyone follows suit in that room. And so I think we have a lot of guys that are willing, a lot of guys that are unselfish, and it's a combination of Saint and Randall leading the charge there.
Last time we talked between the Arizona and Seattle game, you were talking about the JMO effect and how teams were sitting back in deeper zones. You found a way to beat that with the crossing route for the 70-yard touchdown. How much time are you spending on just finding ways to continue to manufacture touches for him just because of his explosiveness in the open field?
Yeah, I mean, it's the best thing that we have going right now is we have so many weapons. He's not the only one, so it's hard for a defense to come out and say, hey, we just want to shut this one guy down. They can't. I don't know that they can do that with how we distribute the ball. So I think the easiest team for teams with his speed would be to cloud his side, which we think about in everything that we do. So we'll continue to have plays up for him when he's primary, and there's plenty of times when he's not primary where we get back to him within the progression as well. But we haven't changed necessarily our approach to that yet.
You ever seen a block like Decker's on the Montgomery 40-yard catch where he blocked and took out 5 guys in one block?
Yeah, I'm telling you that. You talk about our poor third quarters. When you have a play like that to start off our third quarter, I mean, we're just going to start rolling from there. I mean, from Demo to Decker to the skill guys blocking down the field, that was really impressive to watch. Family's okay. Yeah. A lot of death and destruction down there, as you guys are well aware. Fortunately, immediate family has been fine, but I have a lot of people that I grew up with that lost family members, that lost homes and lost their businesses. So it's tough down there, but that group of people, they're resilient, and I know they'll bounce back, but certainly have been thinking about that a lot. Thank you. Yep.